geez. Let me make sure I know. 30, 36, 2,136. Wow, okay. Let's see here. And I want to go here. Yeah. Here we go. So it is still May 7th, 2026. And yeah, we're almost there. We're almost at May 8th. And it has been 2,136 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room, a distinguished honor graduate for his basic training cycle, and a distinguished honor graduate for his advanced individual training. And then given orders to report to Fort Bliss. Fort Bliss, we were so excited because I was born there at White Sands, and both Rob and I both have family history living there for a long time growing up, and always loved El Paso. But the cartel has gotten a grip on it, and a really, really heavy-handed grip on it. And, we had no idea that their grip was so heavy and so vast that it went into our military, that they had infiltrated our military. And Richard reported them. They forcibly removed him from his barracks room and took him downstairs to the arms room. That is the crime scene. And they took his life. And then they stole his body and desecrated it. And by organ harvesting. And they took his body over to Juarez for disposal. Now, I know, it's like, how in the world can this mother say this every day? Just by the grace of God that I can come and say it, and it has to be said every day. The whole story of this has to be said every day. We can never give up, because what they've done is an act of war, and it is an infiltration of our agencies, our judicial system, our military, our intelligence agencies, our even our educational institutions, our health institutions. I mean, it is a shadow state. It's if you want to call it a deep state or whatever, but it's the El Paso cartel that made alliances with the El Chapo cartel, Sinaloa cartel, which is a huge cartel. Okay, the El Chapo arm of the Sinaloa cartel is huge. Okay, it is just international. And the CJNG cartel, which are brutal, absolutely disgusting and brutal. And also, they keep a lot of books. Okay. And then, of course, the La Linea, which are the Nova Casas Grandes arm of these cartels, and the Juarez cartel, which is really a lot of media in this cartel. So, they made an alliance, and it's facilitated by Alejandro de la Vega Foster. Of course, she was the El Paso cartel operative that facilitated the Governor Abbott, Governor Campos treasonous treaty that gave reciprocal access to the cartels on both sides of the border, okay, to intelligence databases, federal databases, federal cases, and that gave them that. Then they knew who the witnesses were, right? They knew who the judges were, they knew who the witnesses were, they knew who the lawyers were working the case, the investigators. They knew the timing of things. They had access where we have to ask for open records. They had access. They knew everything. Things weren't redacted for them. Things weren't delayed for them. They didn't, they had full access. They do have full access. And then, of course, the other part of this treasonous treaty, is the surveillance. Now it's huge. Of course, it's with the drones, a lot of drones involved in this. But the surveillance, you can have the drones, but then you also need to have the programs and the AI involved in all of this. And the program is called Pegasus. Pegasus, where you can eavesdrop on phone calls. Now, um, uh, Chihuahua is known to use Pegasus, and of course, this was a big part of the surveillance so that they would know, any whistleblower and that, because they were not interested in law enforcement. They were interested in criminal trafficking and exploiting the system, the contracts, all of the above. So, bankrupting the countries, and squeezing as much out of the taxpayer as possible. It reminds me of a character in Little Dorrit by Charles Dickens. If you've never, and I didn't plan on saying that, it's just as I was talking, I thought about this character in Little Dorrit. It's a book by Charles Dickens, and I can't remember the name of this character, but he's kind of like this Santa Claus kind of character. He goes out and um, he dresses kind of, like Santa Claus or whatever, and all the kids and the mothers and the dads they all like him so much. He's so wonderful and everything like that. And then, but though when he gets behind the scenes, he has his man, um, and he tells him, "Squeeze him harder." I think his name is Pickens or something like that. I mean, it's been years since I uh, read this, and you can even watch it. I think it's on Amazon Prime, but and they do it's a really good rendition of the book. And it's a series because it's pretty long. But he tells his man, squeeze him harder. I want my money. Squeeze him harder. And that's the cartel, right? They just want to squeeze the people, squeeze everything out of them. And our countries, Mexico and squeeze the United States. I mean, that's what they've been doing with all their fraud, with all their bonds, with all their delays, their being over budget and way behind schedule, and they're just like squeeze them harder. And the same thing with the Walmart mass shooting case. They wanted to squeeze the people for years and years. And that's why Sam Medrano, and he's our topic for today, Sam Medrano, and his wife, Bernadette Medrano, who, of being the district clerk, got to spin the wheel, right? Spin that wheel and decide on which judge was going to get the Walmart mass shooting. And it was pretty tricky. They were like, "Well, we got to cover ourselves a little bit here." Because we know that their intention always was that it would be San Medrano. But the way they did it, they gave it to, I can't remember what her name is right now, but another judge, it's in my notes. And then she recused herself, and then it went to Judge Medrano. And the federal case went to Judge Guadarrama. And and of course he proceeded to seal it and do a gag order and delay while they were squeezing the taxpayers for millions of dollars to defend Patrick Crucius, who is married to whose brother is married to the federal courthouse manager's daughter. And the whole thing was a lie, and all the connections, and we've put up all the connections. And now we have Judge Medrano trying to, well, not try, well, yeah, trying to control everything so that they can get away with it. Okay, so things got out, right? Things got out. There were whistleblowers like Richard. There were whistleblowers like uh, with the whole Walmart mass shooting victims fund that they were stealing, right? They were not giving out the money to who they should give money out to. And yeah, so they were having a lot of problems with the irregularities that were so obvious, with the delays that were so obvious, with the lack of forensics file that was so obvious. Where was the ballistics? So obvious. Where was the video of the inside of the Walmart? So obvious. Why did Patrick Crucius surrender twice? Why didn't he have any blood on him? Why didn't he even admit, he didn't even admit to the whole thing like he should have. And then he didn't get the 8chan correct. He messed up. He messed up. He ate his orange. He messed up the whole timeline by um, his two surrenders. He was supposed to die. He was supposed to die. Maybe he didn't want to die. Apparently, he didn't want to die. And of course, the whole cover up of him and his lack of them doing a mental health evaluation on him. It was just one botch thing after the other that they were getting caught in. And make sure I can see all the comments. And then the videos that were circulating that were private videos that people were putting on social media absolutely confirmed that this was an orchestrated mass shooting. And of course, Ernest Christopher Grant was getting caught on CNN, um, fabricating a story that was so absurd, that had no evidence behind it to support it. That Ernest Christopher Grant, who has now been arrested, y'all, he's now been arrested. Um, y- you know, um, y- it just showed that there were lies going on in the whole case, because nothing was supported by real evidence. It was all like a show. And, um, you know, so you have this really big case, right? 23 dead, 22 injured, mass shooting. They weaponized it to target President Trump. But now we know that it's orchestrated, that the crime scene wasn't secured for over 48 hours, and that was staged. And that was not me saying that. That's JT saying that. That's the Juan Torres, who, sorry, is the Texas Ranger assigned to the Walmart mass shooting. And then we find out about the FBI agents assigned to this shooting and all of their irregularities. That um, you have David Scott Frost, that is in headquarters of the first AD, under headquarters division under Sean Bernabe, and he's in charge as an FBI agent. the lead investigation into the Walmart with that kind of conflict of interest. And then we find out that he and Todd Petkus, the FBI agent, that was also assigned to the Walmart case, that they were over in Juarez, that they were in the Fiscalia, where the CIA were carrying around M4s. They were in the Fiscalia and colluding with Carlos Manuel Salas to block Richard Halliday's case. So, is that a triple hat? Were they on the payroll in Chihuahua? Because we know that there was a payroll. Okay, we know that there was a payroll, an illicit payroll for agents, for American agents. So that is just jaw dropping in itself, but we know that that is true and we can say it. And so now we have a, a, a need for a really big maneuver to cover up. Okay. Because everything is unraveling, there has to be a move to cover up even more. And so this is what Judge Medrano did, right? Judge Medrano with the federal courthouse, because you have to remember, not only Sam Medrano was getting caught, but it was David Guadarrama who handled the case first. The federal case went first, and it just totally botched because they were supposed to seek the death penalty, and that didn't happen, and it was just one big botch after the other. So Sam Medrano and the federal courthouse needed a bridge, needed a way to control uh, the cases and um, evidence, witnesses in both the Walmart mass shooting case and Richard Halliday's case. And so that is why I think that's the primary reason why he created the Council of Judges police agency. Okay. That's why he created, which is totally illegal because judges um, eh, can't do executive jobs. That's an executive power job. It's not a judicial power job, right? And so this is why this is so illegal. And he chose an individual that seems to have uh, very close connections to these main people of the federal courthouse. You know, so, you know, so what were they trying to do? The evidence has to come through the bailiffs, and the witnesses have to come through the bailiffs. Why not just you can close the door up and say, no, I don't want this witness to come. I mean, they absolutely, through creating um, this rogue police force within the courthouse, it created a bridge over to the federal courthouse where they could also tamper with cases. That's what we believe. Evidence shows that there's tampering going on both sides, and this is the bridge to allow them to do for the cartel to have this kind of control. Okay, so that is really huge breaking news. And the other is that, these last days, right now, we're in the season, today especially, of Corpus Christi. Corpus Christi, um, reminds us how precious the body of Christ is, the body of God is, and that we are made in his likeness, And therefore, our bodies are also to be um, treated with reverence and respect. And, to go into a jungle world, right? To descend into a jungle world is not really a nice place to be. You know, it's not a nice place to be. We need to absolutely be civilized and treat human remains with reverence and respect. And that's not what happened at Plenitude Crematorium, not what happened with Richard's remains. And so there needs to be accountability. That's what we're saying. So I just want to thank everybody for coming on so late um, and sharing all of our information. I know we have um, a viral post about the treasonous treaty between Governor Greg Abbott and Maru Campos. That is going to be huge coming up because Greg Abbott is up for reelection and they're trying to protect him, right? But he clearly has committed a crime here, clearly. So I just want to say thank you for sharing all that information that we're putting up. Please read through all of our posts. They're long, most of them are all long because we're giving you the meat. We're giving you the story behind what might trickle out there so that you absolutely can be comfortable and in your own judgments, right? That you have this full story, and then you can make a decision on your own as to where you want to stand on all of this. So I want to say thank you so much for everyone for sharing. That is so important to expand this site and our live streams and sharing all of our articles. Um, yeah, that thank you so much. That is so important to getting justice, to getting the repatriation of our son's remains. So thank you so much. God bless you, and I will be back